Welcome to Frema, audiobooks, where transformation begins, where financial evolution becomes possible, and where today we explore the mindset, habits, strategy, and discipline required to rise from a broke person to a rich person through the powerful principles in this motivational journey designed to reshape your entire relationship with money and success. You will learn how rich thinking begins, long before rich living, and how shifting your mentality becomes the first and most important step in elevating your income, your opportunities, and your lifestyle. You will understand how broke thinking is rooted in fear, limitation, impulse, and emotional decisions, while rich thinking is rooted in strategy, intention, patience, and long-term vision. You will uncover how to study money, how to build discipline around money, and how to build an identity that attracts financial growth naturally. You will learn why broke people chase instant gratification, while rich people chase long-term value, long-term assets, and long-term payoff. You will understand how wealth is created through habits, routines, and daily decisions, not luck or chance. You will discover how to shift your self-image from someone who survives financially to someone who builds wealth intentionally. You will learn how to master your financial emotions, build productive habits, and control your spending power with intelligence. You will explore the mindset required to build multiple income streams and how to position yourself for a financial expansion. You will understand why rich people think differently, move differently, and choose differently, and how you can adopt those same patterns in your own life. You will learn why money responds to direction, clarity, and respect rather than chaos and impulse. You will grow into someone who adds value, multiplies value, and uses value to create wealth. You will discover how to build the discipline required to maintain money once you start making it. You will understand that becoming rich is not only about money, it is about becoming the version of yourself capable of leading a wealthy life. And before we begin this transformation, make sure you subscribe to Frema audiobooks, like this video, comment your goals, and share this message with someone who is ready to rise, because today marks the starting point of your journey from broke thinking to rich living. You begin transforming from a broke person to a rich person the moment you realize that wealth is created internally before it ever shows up externally, because money follows mindset and not the other way around. You grow in financial intelligence when you stop thinking of money as something that happens to you and start thinking of it as something you direct with clarity. You elevate your potential when you stop blaming circumstances and start taking full responsibility for your financial habits. You gain power when you stop seeing yourself as a victim of your income level and start seeing yourself as the architect of your financial future. You rise in confidence when you realize that broke is a temporary condition, but poor is a permanent mindset. You elevate your discipline when you stop spending emotionally and start spending strategically. You grow in strength when you stop seeking validation through purchases and start seeking growth through investments. You gain clarity when you understand that money is a reflection of your decisions. You rise in determination when you choose long-term gain over short-term pleasure. You elevate your future when you start thinking about wealth with intention instead of hope. You grow in ambition when you decide that your financial story will not end where it began. You gain momentum when you start learning instead of complaining. You rise in self-belief when you understand that wealth is available to anyone who learns how to build it. You elevate your mindset when you stop asking, "How do I get rich fast?" and start asking, "How do I become the person who deserves wealth?" You win every day when you choose financial growth over financial comfort. You evolve financially when you shift from consuming everything to creating something, because creators build wealth while consumers feed the wealth of others. You grow in possibility when you recognize that the marketplace rewards problem solvers, not passive spectators. You elevate your earning potential when you decide to contribute value instead of waiting for opportunities. You gain strength when you stop feeling intimidated by skills, you don't yet have and start learning them step by step. You rise in awareness when you realize that every rich person built something, an idea, a skill, a service, or a system. You elevate your mindset when you understand that wealth flows to those who produce more than they consume. You grow in confidence when you create products, knowledge, or services people need. You gain financial leverage when you stop relying solely on one paycheck. You rise in ambition when you understand that multiple income streams are not optional, they are necessary. You elevate your focus when you dedicate yourself to building value consistently. You grow in commitment when you see that creation is the foundation of financial independence. You gain resilience when you understand that wealth requires building, failing, adjusting, and trying again. You rise in purpose when you realize you are capable of contributing more than you imagined. You elevate your financial identity when you see yourself as a builder, not just a beer. You win every day when you create more value than you consume. You begin rising out of financial struggle when you master the psychology of delayed gratification, because broke people choose what feels good now, while rich people choose what pays off later. You grow in maturity when you stop letting impulse control your spending. You elevate your discipline when you train your mind to value the reward of tomorrow more than the comfort of today. You gain strength when you learn to say no to purchases that drain your future. You rise in intelligence when you understand that every dollar spent emotionally is a dollar stolen from your future self. You elevate your wisdom when you invest before you indulge. You grow in power when you delay gratification to build assets. You gain long-term success when you prioritize investing over impressing. You rise in clarity when you realize that financial patience pays more than financial excitement. You elevate your standards when you stop buying things to look rich and start doing things to become rich. You grow in purpose when you choose long-term reward over short-term entertainment. You gain financial stability when your priorities shift toward growth. You rise in resilience when discipline becomes easier than impulsive spending. You elevate your self-image when you see yourself as someone capable of financial control. You win every day when you delay gratification to accelerate wealth. Your transformation accelerates when you study money seriously, because ignorance is the most expensive course in the world and knowledge is the most profitable investment you can ever make. You grow in intelligence when you learn how money works instead of guessing. You elevate your financial literacy when you understand assets, liabilities, reward, and cash flow. You gain clarity when you learn how to make money, multiply money, and protect money. You rise in financial confidence when you understand where your money should go. You elevate your future when you learn the rules that rich people follow. You grow in wisdom when you understand taxes, investments, and systems that multiply wealth. You gain power when you understand that money grows faster in the hands of the educated. You rise in opportunity when you learn skills that increase your earning potential. You elevate your mindset when you realize financial success is teachable, learnable, and repeatable. You grow in self-belief when money becomes something you manage, not something that controls you. You gain advantage when you study financial patterns instead of living paycheck to paycheck blindly. You rise in ambition when financial education becomes part of your daily life. You elevate your identity when you begin to think like a wealth builder. You win every day when you choose knowledge over ignorance. You move from broke thinking to rich thinking when you stop relying on motivation and start relying on discipline, because motivation is temporary, but discipline is transformational. You grow in strength when you take action, even when you don't feel like it. You elevate your consistency when discipline becomes a daily habit. You gain results when you stop waiting for inspiration. You rise in determination when you show up even on difficult days. You elevate your productivity when your work ethic becomes non-negotiable. You grow in confidence when you honor your commitments to yourself. You gain stability when your habits become more reliable than your emotions. You rise in ambition when you realize discipline is the true engine of wealth. You elevate your self-control when you focus on systems, rather than moods. You grow in success when discipline becomes part of your identity. You gain momentum when you act daily toward financial growth. You rise in resilience when you prioritize consistency over convenience. You elevate your financial future when discipline guides your behavior. You win every day when your discipline is stronger than your excuses. You rise financially when you finally accept that your environment shapes your income, because staying around people who think small forces you to think small, while surrounding yourself with growth-minded individuals forces you to evolve. You grow in clarity when you realize you cannot become rich around people who normalize broke habits. You elevate your ambition when your circle talks about strategy instead of gossip. You gain power when you spend time with people who challenge your limits. You rise in possibility when your friends discuss investments instead of problems. You elevate your confidence when you keep company with people who think bigger. You grow in discipline when your environment encourages productivity instead of distraction. You gain momentum when you absorb the mindset of high achievers. You rise in intelligence when conversations around you evolve around solutions instead of excuses. You elevate your standards when mediocrity no longer feels comfortable. You grow in financial awareness when you learn from those ahead of you. You gain opportunity when your circle opens doors instead of closing your potential. You rise in vision when your environment expands your thinking. You elevate your future when you intentionally choose who influences you. You win every day when your environment supports your growth instead of feeding your limitations. You transform your financial life when you learn how to control your spending impulses, because broke people spend emotionally, while rich people spend intentionally. And the difference between those two behaviors determines long-term wealth. You grow in maturity when you stop buying things to feel better. You elevate your intelligence when you recognize that emotional spending delays financial progress. You gain strength when you choose necessity over temporary satisfaction. You rise in power when you detach your emotions from your wallet. You elevate your discipline when you realize money is a tool, not a therapy. You grow in clarity when you ask yourself whether a purchase serves your future. You gain stability when you avoid financial sabotage disguised as treating yourself. You rise in confidence when you master your cravings instead of surrendering to them. You elevate your priorities when you invest in growth instead of impulse. You grow in financial direction when your purchases reflect your goals. You gain freedom when you no longer need emotional validation through spending. You rise in inner control when your desires stop dictating your financial choices. You elevate your future when every dollar has purpose. You win every day when you control your spending instead of letting spending control you. You begin shifting from broke habits to rich habits when you build a strong work ethic, because rich people do not wait for opportunities, they create them through consistent effort, persistence, and dedication. You grow in resilience when you continue working even when no one is watching. You elevate your productivity when you build structure into your days. You gain advantage when you embrace hard work as a lifestyle. You rise in strength when you learn to push through discomfort. You elevate your focus when you concentrate on long-term payoff over short-term ease. You grow in ambition when you realize opportunities reward those who earn them. You gain advantage when your actions exceed your intentions. You rise in competence when you practice your craft relentlessly. You elevate your confidence when success becomes a result of your preparation. You grow in momentum when you work consistently instead of sporadically. You gain mastery when you outwork your former self. You rise in financial capability when work ethic becomes part of your identity. You elevate your standards when you set expectations for excellence. You win every day when your work ethic becomes your foundation for wealth. You accelerate your financial rise when you understand the difference between assets and liabilities, because broke people spend money on things that drain their income, while rich people invest in things that multiply it. You grow in intelligence when you distinguish purchases that generate returns from purchases that generate debt. You elevate your decision-making when you choose assets over appearances. You gain power when you stop buying liabilities disguised as luxury. You rise in clarity when you understand why cash flow is more important than status. You elevate your financial wisdom when you track where your money goes. You grow in financial strength when you own things that produce income instead of consume it. You gain control when you understand that liabilities keep you broke. You rise in confidence when your money begins to work for you. You elevate your financial literacy when you prioritize wealth-building assets. You grow in discipline when you break the cycle of buying depreciating items. You gain long-term advantage when every purchase aligns with your financial goals. You rise in maturity when you choose investments over impressing others. You elevate your future when assets replace liabilities in your life. You win every day when you let your money grow instead of letting it vanish. You rise from broke to rich when you build a skill set that the marketplace values, because wealth flows to those who solve problems, bring expertise, and deliver results that others cannot easily replicate. You grow in opportunity when your skills become rare and impactful. You elevate your earning potential when you become more valuable. You gain power when your abilities create demand. You rise in confidence when your competence increases. You elevate your financial security when you master skills that people are willing to pay for repeatedly. You grow in influence when your expertise becomes recognized. You gain stability when your skills give you leverage in negotiations. You rise in strategic advantage when your value exceeds your competition. You elevate your reputation when you perform with excellence. You grow in financial independence when your skills generate income beyond a single job. You gain momentum when you invest time into sharpening your abilities. You rise in ambition when you see yourself as a high-value contributor. You elevate your potential when your skills align with profitable industries. You win every day when you upgrade your skill set instead of staying comfortable. You rise financially when you learn to monetize your strengths, because every person has a set of abilities, talents, and experiences that can be converted into income once they recognize their value. You grow in opportunity when you identify what you can offer that others cannot. You elevate your confidence when you realize your skills can solve real problems. You gain power when you stop hiding your abilities. You rise in clarity when you match your strengths with what the market needs. You elevate your earning potential when you turn natural gifts into profitable services. You grow in entrepreneurship when you learn how to package your value. You gain freedom when your skills create income outside of your job. You rise in financial security when multiple strengths generate multiple streams of revenue. You elevate your relevance when you strengthen the talents that set you apart. You grow in growth mindset when you see your strengths as assets. You gain momentum when you develop your strengths intentionally. You rise in self-belief when your value becomes visible to the world. You elevate your financial direction when you lean into what you do best. You win every day when your strengths become part of your wealth strategy. You shift from broke thinking to rich thinking when you stop waiting for permission and start taking initiative, because success belongs to those who act boldly instead of waiting passively. You grow in courage when you stop asking whether you are ready and start moving regardless. You elevate your self-image when you become a person of action. You gain momentum when you stop procrastinating. You rise in clarity when action helps you learn what planning alone cannot. You elevate your confidence when you move forward even with fear present. You grow in discipline when taking initiative becomes your new habit. You gain success when you stop relying on luck or timing. You rise in influence when people see your willingness to lead. You elevate your financial potential when you stop hesitating. You grow in mastery when you learn through experience. You gain power when you stop waiting for the perfect moment. You rise in identity when initiative becomes part of who you are. You elevate your opportunities when you create them instead of waiting for them. You win every day when action replaces doubt. You transform financially when you stop chasing too many things at once and start focusing, because focus builds mastery, mastery builds results, and results build wealth. You grow in effectiveness when you stop scattering your energy. You elevate your progress when you reduce distractions. You gain power when you direct your attention toward one main path. You rise in clarity when you identify your primary goal. You elevate your discipline when you commit deeply instead of superficially. You grow in efficiency when you stop multitasking your dreams. You gain mastery when you fully develop one strong income source. You rise in confidence when focus makes you excellent at what you do. You elevate your results when you give consistent effort to what matters most. You grow in productivity when you eliminate things that slow your growth. You gain momentum when your focus compounds over time. You rise in ambition when you see measurable improvement. You elevate your identity when you become known for something. You win every day when focus becomes your financial engine. You begin rising from broke to wealthy when you commit to living below your means while increasing your means, because wealth is built through disciplined spending and expanded earning, not through lifestyle inflation. You grow in financial maturity when you resist upgrading your life too quickly. You elevate your savings rate when you control your expenses wisely. You gain future advantage when you choose investment over indulgence. You rise in clarity when you realize that spending money doesn't equal enjoying life. You elevate your discipline when lifestyle choices align with your long-term goals. You grow in financial stability when you leave room for growth in your budget. You gain power when you build a cushion instead of living check to check. You rise in freedom when you reduce debt and increase assets. You elevate your wealth-building ability when you reinvest profits instead of wasting them. You grow in self-control when you delay lifestyle upgrades. You gain long-term success when you understand that wealth requires structure. You rise in intelligence when you avoid the trap of looking rich. You elevate your future when you prioritize wealth over image. You win every day when your lifestyle supports your wealth, not your ego. You shift financially when you refuse to fear hard work, because broke people avoid difficulty, while rich people embrace the discomfort that leads to growth, results, and opportunity. You grow in resilience when you understand that effort compounds. You elevate your capabilities when you push beyond your comfort zone. You gain strength when you choose productive struggle over easy escape. You rise in wisdom when you realize that difficulty is often the doorway to wealth. You elevate your mindset when you accept challenge as part of success. You grow in discipline when you keep going even when progress feels slow. You gain mastery when consistency becomes your identity. You rise in ambition when hard work becomes a habit, not a burden. You elevate your income potential when you stop searching for shortcuts. You grow in success when you commit to long-term effort. You gain advantage when you outwork those who rely solely on talent. You rise in stability when you build success through dedication. You elevate your future when you develop grit. You win every day when you embrace the work that others avoid. You elevate your financial journey when you learn to turn failures into lessons, because broke people fear failure and avoid growth, while rich people study failure, extract wisdom, and return stronger than before. You grow in resilience when setbacks no longer destroy your motivation. You elevate your self-awareness when you analyze what went wrong. You gain clarity when failure helps you refine your strategy. You rise in intelligence when every mistake becomes a teacher. You elevate your grit when you keep going despite discouragement. You grow in maturity when you stop seeing failure as personal. You gain confidence when you understand failure is part of the process. You rise in strength when you embrace failure without shame. You elevate your perspective when you realize success is built on corrected mistakes. You grow in strategic thinking when you adjust your approach quickly. You gain long-term advantage when you bounce back faster than others. You rise in discipline when failure pushes you to improve. You elevate your potential when you become unfazed by setbacks. You win every day when failure strengthens instead of stopping you. You rise from financial limitation when you shift from being reactive to being proactive, because broke people wait for opportunities, instructions, and perfect timing, while rich people initiate action, build momentum, and create opportunities through vision and execution. You grow in leadership when you take responsibility for your direction. You elevate your awareness when you stop waiting for permission. You gain clarity when you stop asking what should I do and start asking what can I build. You rise in power when you choose movement over hesitation. You elevate your ambition when you stop reacting to life and start designing it. You grow in courage when you make decisions with conviction. You gain strength when you choose progress instead of fear. You rise in opportunity when you take the first step others avoid. You elevate your future when your initiative leads to breakthroughs. You grow in confidence when doing becomes easier than doubting. You gain momentum when action becomes automatic. You rise in financial capability when your initiative brings results. You elevate your identity when you become a creator of success. You win every day when you choose action over waiting. You elevate your wealth potential when you learn to adapt quickly, because broke people cling to old habits in a changing world, while rich people evolve their skills, strategies, and mindset to match new opportunities. You grow in intelligence when you stay flexible. You elevate your success rate when you pivot when necessary. You gain advantage when you keep learning instead of clinging to the familiar. You rise in relevance when your skills match the demands of the future. You elevate your career when you update your abilities. You grow in clarity when you recognize when something no longer works. You gain power when you let go of outdated beliefs. You rise in capability when you innovate instead of stagnate. You elevate your earning potential when you adjust your approach. You grow in confidence when adaptation becomes natural to you. You gain momentum when flexibility accelerates your growth. You rise in wisdom when you choose evolution over comfort. You elevate your identity when change becomes part of your strategy. You win every day when adaptation becomes your financial advantage. You transform financially when you stop living for entertainment and start living for elevation, because broke people waste countless hours escaping reality, while rich people invest their free time into learning, improving, and creating opportunities. You grow in discipline when you reduce activities that bring temporary pleasure but long-term loss. You elevate your ambition when you prioritize growth over distraction. You gain strength when you say no to habits that drain your time. You rise in intelligence when you replace mindless entertainment with meaningful development. You elevate your self-image when you see yourself as someone worthy of elevation. You grow in productivity when you use your evenings and weekends to build skills. You gain financial progress when you turn leisure time into leverage time. You rise in motivation when your habits reflect your goals. You elevate your environment when you choose inputs that shape your future. You grow in clarity when you realize that time is your wealth-building currency. You gain advantage when you use your hours strategically. You rise in success when you master the art of disciplined time management. You elevate your life when elevation becomes your priority. You win every day when growth replaces distraction. You rise from broke to rich when you build long-term vision, because short-term thinking keeps you trapped in survival mode, while long-term vision moves you into creation mode, investment mode, and wealth-building mode. You grow in intelligence when you think years ahead instead of days ahead. You elevate your goals when your vision becomes bigger than your circumstances. You gain purpose when you plan for a future greater than your present. You rise in financial awareness when you measure success by progress, not speed. You elevate your discipline when your decisions support your long-term direction. You grow in maturity when instant gratification loses its power over you. You gain strategic advantage when you study future trends. You rise in opportunity when you prepare for what others ignore. You elevate your financial growth when your vision guides your spending. You grow in resilience when your long-term vision gives you strength to endure short-term setbacks. You gain clarity when your direction becomes undeniable. You rise in identity when you see yourself as a future millionaire in progress. You elevate your mindset when you live for the future you are building. You win every day when long-term vision leads your decisions. You rise financially when you learn the art of consistent saving, because saving is not about the amount, but the habit, and rich people build wealth by treating saving as a non-negotiable part of their identity. You grow in financial security when you pay yourself first. You elevate your stability when you build the habit of keeping money instead of spending everything you earn. You gain strength when saving becomes automatic instead of emotional. You rise in discipline when you save even on months that feel tight. You elevate your financial future when saving protects you from emergencies. You grow in peace when money in the bank becomes your safety net. You gain power when savings create opportunities you can say yes to. You rise in confidence when your savings represent your commitment to your future. You elevate your self-image when you see yourself as someone capable of building reserves. You grow in wealth-building ability when consistent saving becomes normal. You gain leverage when savings become your foundation for investment. You rise in financial intelligence when you understand that saving is the first step toward multiplying. You elevate your potential when saving becomes easy. You win every day when you save before you spend. You shift from broke thinking to rich thinking when you learn to invest consistently, because investing is how money grows, how wealth compounds, and how you break free from trading time for income. You grow in foresight when you invest with long-term vision. You elevate your financial maturity when you understand that investing is a responsibility, not an option. You gain the advantage of compounding when you commit to steady investment habits. You rise in confidence when your money starts working for you. You elevate your wealth when your investments generate returns without your presence. You produce income. You rise in potential when you prioritize investing over spending. You elevate your identity when you see yourself as an investor. You win every day when investing becomes part of your lifestyle. You rise from financial struggle when you eliminate excuses, because excuses preserve broken habits, while action creates breakthrough habits, and the rich don't become rich by explaining why they can't. You grow in personal responsibility when you admit your role in your financial situation. You elevate your strength when you face reality honestly. You gain empowerment when you stop blaming things outside your control. You rise in clarity when you focus on solutions instead of limitations. You elevate your ambition when you stop letting fear disguise itself as excuses. You grow in resilience when you confront your weaknesses directly. You gain momentum when you stop waiting for perfect conditions. You rise in confidence when action replaces justification. You elevate your self-respect when you refuse to settle for limitations. You grow in opportunity when you act despite doubt. You gain financial strength when you stop surrendering to circumstances. You rise in maturity when excuses lose their emotional appeal. You elevate your mindset when you see excuses as enemies of your future. You win every day when excuses disappear and action takes their place. You elevate your financial trajectory when you learn to manage risk intelligently, because broke people avoid all risks and miss opportunities, while rich people analyze risks, prepare for them, and make calculated moves that pay off. You grow in knowledge when you study the risks associated with each decision. You elevate your confidence when cautious action replaces reckless behavior. You gain clarity when you distinguish smart risks from foolish ones. You rise in ambition when you take opportunities others fear. You elevate your strategic thinking when you weigh consequences carefully. You grow in financial strength when you accept that all progress carries risk. You gain emotional maturity when you become comfortable with uncertainty. You rise in capability when you prepare for challenges before they appear. You elevate your earning potential when calculated risks open new paths. You grow in wisdom when you learn from every risk taken. You gain momentum when intelligent risks accelerate growth. You rise in decision-making ability when experience guides your judgment. You elevate your mindset when risk becomes part of the game instead of something to avoid. You win every day when smart risk-taking expands your wealth. You rise from broke to rich when you build the discipline to finish what you start, because incomplete goals produce incomplete growth, while finished projects produce income, confidence, and opportunity. You grow in reliability when you follow through on your commitments. You elevate your confidence when you see results from finished work. You gain strength when you stop abandoning ideas halfway. You rise in capability when you complete tasks consistently. You elevate your discipline when you stay focused until the end. You grow in financial potential when your completed work becomes monetizable. You gain satisfaction when you deliver your best effort. You rise in reputation when people see your consistency. You elevate your opportunities when your completed work opens doors. You grow in productivity when you focus on one thing until it's done. You gain clarity when completion becomes more rewarding than starting. You rise in identity when you become known as someone who finishes. You elevate your progress when you stop scattering your attention. You win every day when you finish more than you start. You elevate your financial evolution when you understand that your identity controls your income, because you cannot earn beyond the level of the person you believe yourself to be, and rich identity produces rich behavior long before rich results appear. You grow in confidence when you start seeing yourself as someone capable of earning more. You elevate your mindset when you shift from survival identity to abundance identity. You gain clarity when you realize identities are built through repeated choices. You rise in strength when you embody the habits of wealthy people. You elevate your self-image when you speak to yourself as someone destined for success. You grow in discipline when your actions align with your future identity. You gain power when you stop identifying with struggle. You rise in possibility when you believe wealth is part of who you are becoming. You elevate your opportunities when you make decisions from your future self. You grow in ambition when your identity pushes you to learn more. You gain momentum when you stop sabotaging your own potential. You rise in purpose when your identity supports your goals. You elevate your financial results when your identity matches your vision. You win every day when you transform your identity to match your future wealth. You rise from financial stagnation when you develop resilience, because broke people give up when things get hard, while rich people push through obstacles long enough to see results that quitters never experience. You grow in emotional strength when challenges no longer intimidate you. You elevate your discipline when you continue working despite setbacks. You gain personal power when you stop letting small obstacles break your momentum. You rise in self-belief when you survive what used to defeat you. You elevate your perseverance when you show up every day regardless of circumstances. You grow in capability when you endure difficult seasons. You gain opportunity when you stay committed longer than the average person. You rise in intelligence when resilience helps you adapt. You elevate your leadership when consistency becomes your trademark. You grow in influence when people admire your persistence. You gain momentum when resilience becomes effortless. You rise in success when challenges strengthen instead of weaken you. You elevate your financial future when you refuse to quit on yourself. You win every day when your resilience outperforms your excuses. You elevate your wealth-building power when you learn the skill of negotiation, because rich people do not accept what is offered. They negotiate for better terms, higher pay, and greater opportunity. You grow in confidence when negotiation becomes second nature. You elevate your value when you understand what you bring to the table. You gain control when you stop accepting less than you deserve. You rise in assertiveness when you communicate your worth clearly. You elevate your influence when your negotiations are calm and strategic. You grow in leverage when you understand the psychology behind agreements. You gain income when you negotiate raises, deals, and rates effectively. You rise in intelligence when your negotiation skills improve with practice. You elevate your financial future when you secure better outcomes consistently. You grow in courage when you stop fearing the word no. You gain leadership presence when you negotiate with confidence. You rise in authority when your voice carries certainty. You elevate your opportunities when your negotiation skills become strong. You win every day when negotiation becomes part of your wealth strategy. You rise financially when you understand that time is your most valuable currency, because broke people waste time like they have unlimited supply, while rich people treat time as their greatest investment. You grow in awareness when you track where your hours go. You elevate your discipline when you eliminate activities that provide no return. You gain freedom when you stop giving your time to things that weaken your future. You rise in productivity when your hours support your goals. You elevate your wisdom when you value time over entertainment. You grow in intelligence when you use time intentionally. You gain momentum when you use your best hours for your most important work. You rise in capability when you stop multitasking unproductive habits. You elevate your success rate when you schedule growth consistently. You grow in opportunity when your time investments compound. You gain clarity when you stop wasting hours on distractions. You rise in ambition when every day has purpose. You elevate your potential when you treat time as a wealth-building asset. You win every day when you protect your time like the priceless currency it is. You rise from broke to rich when you learn to master your emotions, because emotional decisions destroy financial progress, while emotionally intelligent decisions create stability, growth, and long-term success. You grow in maturity when you stop reacting to financial stress impulsively. You elevate your discipline when emotions no longer guide your spending. You gain clarity when you separate how you feel from what is smart. You rise in strategic thinking when logic leads your choices. You elevate your financial intelligence when you stay calm during setbacks. You grow in stability when emotions no longer sabotage your progress. You gain control when you pause before making decisions. You rise in resilience when emotional mastery strengthens your patience. You elevate your future when emotional wisdom protects your wealth. You grow in confidence when emotional discipline becomes your norm. You gain influence when your emotional stability inspires others. You rise in capability when you use emotions as information, not instruction. You elevate your financial results when emotional maturity guides your actions. You win every day when your emotions serve your goals instead of destroying them. You elevate your financial transformation when you learn to set clear goals, because broke people drift through life without direction, while rich people plan their financial future with precision, purpose, and unshakable focus. You grow in clarity when your goals give you something to aim for. You elevate your discipline when your daily actions reflect your long-term vision. You gain structure when your goals guide how you use your time and money. You rise in motivation when a clear target keeps you moving forward. You elevate your productivity when your energy becomes intentional. You grow in power when your goals push you to learn new skills. You gain momentum when each milestone fuels your confidence. You rise in intelligence when your goals force you to think strategically. You elevate your ambition when your future becomes more exciting than your past. You grow in opportunity when your goals create new possibilities. You gain direction when your goals prevent you from drifting into financial chaos. You rise in maturity when your goals eliminate wasted effort. You elevate your financial future when your goals define your choices. You win every day when you pursue your goals with clarity and purpose. You rise financially when you learn to build systems instead of relying on willpower, because systems automate success while willpower fades under pressure, stress, or emotion. You grow in consistency when your systems make good habits effortless. You elevate your discipline when structured routines guide your daily behavior. You gain control when your systems eliminate uncertainty. You rise in productivity when your systems handle repetitive tasks for you. You elevate your growth when your routines support constant improvement. You grow in efficiency when your systems reduce decision fatigue. You gain financial leverage when your systems help you save, invest, and track progress automatically. You rise in stability when your systems protect you from distractions. You elevate your focus when systems remove the need for constant self-control. You grow in capability when your systems streamline your workflow. You gain momentum when your systems keep you moving even on low-energy days. You rise in intelligence when systems replace chaos with clarity. You elevate your outcomes when your systems turn discipline into lifestyle. You win every day when your systems make success your default. You elevate your wealth potential when you learn the art of thinking long-term, because broke people panic over small losses while rich people stay focused on the bigger financial picture. You grow in emotional strength when short-term setbacks no longer derail you. You elevate your mindset when you stop obsessing over immediate gratification. You gain confidence when you trust the long-term process. You rise in financial maturity when you stop quitting too soon. You elevate your strategy when your decisions serve your future growth. You grow in wisdom when you understand that wealth compounds over years, not weeks. You gain freedom when you detach from short-term noise. You rise in resilience when long-term thinking fuels your patience. You elevate your clarity when you understand slow progress is still progress. You grow in opportunity when long-term vision reveals new paths. You gain power when you invest in things that multiply over time. You rise in capability when you evaluate decisions with a long horizon. You elevate your future when you think in decades, not days. You win every day when long-term thinking becomes your foundation. You rise financially when you learn the power of discipline in boring moments, because wealth is built through consistent, repetitive actions that most people overlook due to lack of excitement. You grow in maturity when you embrace the slow grind. You elevate your habits when you do the work even when it isn't thrilling. You gain strength when you master routines others abandon. You rise in capability when discipline becomes your silent superpower. You elevate your financial growth when small tasks accumulate into major results. You grow in wisdom when you understand that success is not glamorous, it is consistent. You gain clarity when you see progress in daily actions. You rise in stability when discipline becomes your anchor. You elevate your potential when you do what needs to be done, without negotiation. You grow in identity when you become someone who follows through. You gain momentum when boring discipline leads to extraordinary payoff. You rise in effectiveness when consistency beats intensity. You elevate your future when you commit to small wins. You win every day when you master the boring work that builds wealth. You elevate your financial journey when you learn to protect your energy, because broke people spend energy on drama, negativity, and distractions, while rich people invest their energy into opportunities, growth, and meaningful relationships. You grow in emotional intelligence when you choose peace over conflict. You elevate your productivity when you cut out people who drain your drive. You gain clarity when you eliminate distractions from your environment. You rise in strength when you no longer entertain negativity. You elevate your ambition when your circle supports your growth. You grow in focus when your energy goes toward your goals. You gain peace when you stop feeding unnecessary chaos. You rise in consistency when your mind remains calm. You elevate your progress when your energy fuels your purpose. You grow in self-respect when you protect your mental space. You gain direction when your energy aligns with your priorities. You rise in influence when your vibration attracts better opportunities. You elevate your identity when you become selective with who gets your time. You win every day when your energy supports your wealth. You complete your journey from a broke person to a rich person when you understand that wealth is not something you chase it's something you become, something you build, and something you grow into through discipline, mindset, strategy, and consistent action. You rise to a new financial level when your mindset shifts from limitation to possibility, from reaction to intention, and from fear to courage. You elevate your life when you replace excuses with execution and replace dreams with strategies. You gain strength when you realize that wealth is the result of who you choose to become every single day. You rise in clarity when you understand that money multiplies in the hands of someone who respects it, studies it, and uses it wisely. You elevate your self-belief when you recognize that wealth is not reserved for the lucky, it is reserved for the committed. You grow in power when you build habits that align with your future, not your past. You gain momentum when you stay consistent long enough to see results that others only hope for. You rise in identity when you think, act, and move like a wealthy person long before your bank account reflects it. You elevate your opportunities when you choose growth over comfort. You grow in success when you take responsibility for every step of your financial transformation. You gain freedom when you build assets that work while you sleep. You rise into your wealth era when you become disciplined, unstoppable, and intentional. You elevate your destiny when you build the life you once believed was impossible. And if this journey inspired you, make sure you subscribe to Frema Audiobooks, like this video, drop a comment about your future goals, and share this message with someone ready to break free from financial limitations, because wealth grows faster when we grow together.